Why run a Linux shell command with and? I am using Red Hat Linux Enterprise version 5. I've noticed people sometimes running commands with a couple of and options. For example, in the below command, there are 2 and signs. What is the purpose of them? Are they always used together with no-hub?
In addition to Martin's, Ash's and Kevin's answers, sometimes you'll see an ampersand used mathematically for a bitwise and. In case you're not familiar with bit operators, in each position there's a 1 bit in the first number and the second number. Set that bit to 1 in the answer. The feature in Kevin's answer is referred to as a logical AND. To elaborate on Ash's answer, when used in redirection, the ampersand can tell the shell to copy a file descriptor. In this command, echo hello and gt, output file 2 and gt semicolon and amp1, the ampersand causes any output that may go to standard error, stir, file descriptor 2, to go to the same place as standard output, stout, file descriptor 1, the default for the left side of an gt. The and gt semicolon and amp output file operator is shorthand for and gt output file 2 and gt semicolon and amp1. Also, new in bash 4, there are 2 new terminators for clauses in the case command, and amp, and amp, which affect whether a case falls through and, if so, whether the next test is performed.
In a bash shell script, the ampersand and amp is used to fork processes. It will cause the find command to be forked and run in the background. You can always kill it by its PID.
Why run a Linux shell command with an amp? To get your prompt back immediately and run the process in the background. What are the function of them? No-hub allows the background process to continue running even after the user logs out or exits the initiating shell. And gt semicolon and amp redirects both standard output and standard error into the log file. And amp runs the whole thing in the background, giving you your prompt back immediately. Explanation. Every Linux process opens 3 I/O channels, an input stin, a standard output stout and a standard error output stir. They can be used for binary, but they are traditionally text. When most programs see stin close, they exit. This can be changed by the programmer. When the parent shell exits, stin is closed on the children, and often, usually, the children exit as well. In addition, the children receive a software signal, SIAP, indicating the user has hung up, formally, the modem, and the default here is to exit as well. Note, a programmer can change all of this when writing the program. So, what no-hub does is give the child process a separate I/O environment, tying up the ins and outs to something not tied to the parent shell, and shielding the child from the SIAP signal. Once the user disconnects, you will see the no-hub background process owned by init process 1, not the user's shell. However, no-hub cannot do the job completely if the process is run in the foreground, so an amp is used to run the program in the background, where it can happily stay running with or without a user logged in.
In addition to Martin's answer, the other use of ampersand, and gt semicolon and amp, as above, is to capture both stout and stare. Normally, if you redirected output to a file with only in gt, you would only get the output to stout, missing any errors.
everyone, subscribe to the channel, plus you can see that